What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm C.
I'm P.
Today we're gonna watch a video, react to a video titled Feminism Vs Logic. I got it. Feminism versus Logic. There you go. I guess how much you guys will laugh today, at feminists. With them in Logic, they don't really match.
We know how big fans we are of modern day feminism.
So we found this video and it seems like it's gonna have a lot of funny, they're gonna have a lot of funny thoughts in them. So
back and forth.
We want to give it to you guys. I know you guys like watching this kind of things.
As
so
always,
yeah, we'll give our thoughts on it about some of the things they say. I'm pretty sure a lot of they're gonna say we already spoken on before.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna, spend a lot of times. We already. I can't speak today.
I see that.
We're not gonna give a lot of time, just repeating the same shit exactly. So
over and over again.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
As always, let us know what you think about this reaction in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ring that bell so you can get notified for our upcoming videos.
Let's begin.
Let's go.
Good economics to me, Kate.
I'm not hung up on any hashtag. I'm hung up on the fact that these new pay gap measurements are incredibly misleading and frankly useless. Only one of the 6 measurements has any real merit. None of them break down jobs, age, background, experience, time taken off work. You have not proven any kind of gender pay gap. What you have done is push many, many misleading statistics into the public domain, and it is absolutely an attempt to box women in to this victimhood mentality that when you actually break down the data, if you look at the official data from the Office for National Statistics, does not exist. There is a reason that this new data does not line up with the official data, and that is because it is so badly calculated. If you are an economist, it doesn't matter which side of the debate you're on, this is just
I do agree.
No, she broke it down way better than we could have. So we're not gonna speak on the pay gap thing.
But I love how some people just can't actually listen to what the person's saying. They're just like, that's not true.
It's wrong. It's wrong. She never let
you know
her
what
finish.
you're saying.
I'm probably gonna do a reaction of a video with my sister. What?
You said I'm.
We probably gonna do a reaction with my sister because she disagree with us about gender pay gap. So I feel like with her here, we could actually have a back and forth with
actual fighting debate.
Exactly. So we might do one with her. With somebody that disagree with us. Let's continue.
Agree that there is stigma that I have to deal with because I am fat, but I'm actually really in celebration of my body. I find beauty in diversity. I think we come in all shapes and sizes. And the assumption that we've dealt with a lot on this show is that just because you're obese, you must overeat. You must have an eating disorder. I know that not to be the case. I know you can have a healthy relationship.
That didn't make no sense. I mean, yeah, it's important to love yourself
and have confidence in yourself.
Yeah, but you can love yourself because part of loving yourself is being healthy, right? You can love yourself and say, "Oh, look at my body. This is not how it should be." You know what I mean? Part of loving yourself would be to lose the weight because I'm pretty sure she'll disagree that being her weight is not healthy. I'm pretty sure she thinks it's healthy, but it's not healthy, guys. You can ask any doctor you want. You have to probably redefine healthy in order to make the argument that being that weight is healthy. You know what I mean?
You can't do. How can you redefine?
But that's how they're trying to do with everything, don't they? Redefine gender, redefine everything just to make it seem like they're healthy. But probably loving yourself, you're actually keeping up with your body, make sure your body is healthy. That's probably loving yourself, and I feel like if you're that weight, you're not really loving your body how you should be. I guess I would say
you can get sick. There's diabetes. There's a lot.
There's multiple.
There's a lot of things that
high
can
blood
affect
pressure,
you. Yes,
heart disease.
Because of the fact that you're overweight, and it's not saying that overweight people are ugly. I think they take the concept of how we're all beautiful and we should be comfortable in our skin, and they try to relate that to being overweight. There's a difference between acknowledging that we are all beautiful no matter what color, shape, size we are, and acknowledging the fact that if you're overweight, it's not healthy.
And also beautiful is also subjective. So it's like
you can still be beautiful and overweight.
That's what I'm saying.
But it doesn't mean you're healthy.
Exactly.
Now, Mimi, you say this is misleading. Go have at it a little bit.
Well, I certainly think that we all want to feel good about ourselves. That's understandable. I don't think people should feel demeaned by their size. And I also couldn't agree more with the message of daily exercise. No matter what size you are, you'll certainly benefit from daily exercise. You can't be healthy without that. But then let's talk about where we disagree. Look, if you want to feel good about yourself, it's impossible to feel good about yourself when you're doing something that's self-destructive. Also, self-destructive behaviors that result in damage or debilitation or even disfigurement to the body, that's never going to be perceived as beautiful.
The thing is that I think that the Hayes approach, the health at every size approach, has been documented to work. And it's been documented to work year after year.
What do you mean work? What do you mean work? Because a health at every size is a lie. If you starve yourself into damage, that's unhealthy. Or if you eat yourself into damage, that's not healthy.
You're making a lot of assumptions.
That's just not. That's not true.
You're making a lot of assumptions.
That's like saying that.
Weight
let's
being
say you were a smoker. Let's say you're a smoker and have black lungs, and you try to say that's healthy because you don't have cancer yet. We know that it is actually factual that obesity is dangerous, and it's connected to cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's. We even know it's connected to an increase in birth defects. So there's nothing left to debate.
Mimi?
It's not beautiful. It's not healthy.
Enough said.
Stella, at the end of the day...
Oh, sorry, I disagree. And I think the numbers of women... It's actually about helping everyone, Kate, because the gender pay gap doesn't help anyone. What it also tells us is that still too often the idea about flexible work is something that women have to deal with rather than parents, for example. And what we're looking at for these companies, thankfully most of them take a very different view to you. They recognise it's a problem. If they're not tapping into the pool of talent they have in their companies because of the gender, they know they're missing out. What this data is doing is driving that conversation. What this campaign is doing is helping women and men be part of it.
She didn't respond to any of the, the things she said earlier about, how there are different ways you measure the
Pay gap.
Your pay gap, and they're like how often you work. If you're a woman or woman, if you're pregnancy, you're basically going to take time from work. That's gonna affect your pay. Overtime is gonna affect your pay. Experience is going to affect your pay. Age is going to affect your pay. So she was bringing all those different things into the account, and she didn't really talk about any of those things. She just went into the pay gap is this, there's companies, this is that. Mm-hmm. But you didn't really answer any of her questions about the different ways that you can misconstrue the gender pay gap.
Stella, the truth of the matter is that when you actually examine the measurements of this, you need so much more data in order to render anything meaningful from them. If you look at the bonuses that you just mentioned, it is impossible to know if men and women are being paid unfairly via bonuses unless you know what their actual salaries are. So you can know the percentage of their salary that's going towards a bonus, and so you actually have some meaningful data. We don't, Stella. The crude numbers that the government has mandated that companies report does not dive into any of this, and that makes it extremely misleading. Companies like EasyJet and Phase 8 are always going to have a wide gender pay gap, not because of discrimination, but because they do mass hiring of women into their primary and the majority of their roles, which happen to be in things like retail and cabin crew. Your government figures do not highlight that in any capacity, and now you have launched a campaign that directly tries to conflate the gender pay gap with equal pay. And if I may just finish, because I think you have had your time to speak, what this real attempt is here.
She reminded me of Ben Shapiro, kind of, just like.
Is to hit the reset button on equal pay. Women have been doing so well, and the stats prove it when you actually break down the data like for like, that the victimhood groups need to hit the reset button in order to keep their membership going. It works in elections, it works for things like the Equal Pay Day campaign, but women out there need to know just how misleading this data is, and I don't think your hashtag or your attempt to make companies report these misleading figures is helping them.
How do you explain a 9.8% gap between what women earn and what men earn?
Well,
There are many different factors like job and age and experience and particularly time taken out of the workplace that haven't been taken into account. So you might as well say that brown-eyed people are more than blue-eyed people and call it discrimination based on this data in the same way that we're saying gender is being discriminated against. Neither are legitimate because you just haven't actually broken it down to see what the real comparisons are.
It's a statistic which...
I'm guessing he's asking this question because it's his job and he has to. But I'm pretty sure that if you do any little research on gender pay gap, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense. Because experience alone, even if you do the same exact job, experience alone can dictate, how much you get paid. So you can just take male, female, and just put them all in like a bundle and be like, who gets paid more or less. It's like it's too simple of an analysis. You know what I mean? But I feel like any reasonable, most people should be able to figure it out. Be just a simple Google search. You know what I mean? So I don't know if some of these people are just doing this just to seem like they're for women, or do they really not understand what's going on?
Some people actually think that women are getting paid unfairly because of the fact that they are women. And in some cases that may be true. But on a majority case, I don't think it's true. I think there's so many other layers to it in an overall stance. In the one stance, like if this one particular company is doing it, then yeah, okay, that's wrong. But like on a general whole, there's like you said, experience, there's age, there's how much time you take off of work.
Overtime.
Yeah, there's so many different factors that play in for both men and women.
The point is, I feel like some of these people, it seem like they should be smart enough to figure this out. That's why I'm kind of confused. Like, some people in these talk shows, right? Obviously not all of them are like, geniuses, but it seems like they should be at least smart enough to figure out it's more complicated than just,
Yeah, but a lot of them have to just do their job and
that's what I'm saying.
And push the buttons.
Like, when do you decide, like, how do you know which one is doing the job, which one is really believe this thing? You know what I mean?
Which is 80%, 88% of jobs with salaries of £150,000 or more are held by men. Now, are you saying that's nothing to do with discrimination?
It might.
But why? It's like, they're not really going to why. It's just like discrimination. It's like the racism and sexism and homophobia thing. It's like you don't ask questions like why? Why is this happening? Let's break it down. Like you said, break it down. But they automatically go to a sexism or phobia or something. You know what I mean? I feel like you should be able to take more, logically about it. Figure out why. I think it's crazy to me.
Held by men. Now, are you saying that's nothing to do with discrimination?
It might have something to do with discrimination in certain circumstances. Unfortunately, from this data, we can't claim...
Bro, you look jacked!
...that because it wasn't specific at all. But I think the real reason that more women aren't in senior roles is that motherhood pay gap. The fact that women are taking significantly more time out of the workforce.
Hi, Ben. I'm a big fan of yours, and at the meet and greet, I told you I've watched all your shows.
I wish they would let the conversation play out instead of skipping around. You know what I mean? But we didn't create the video, so I'm sorry, guys, if that's a little bit, like it's kind of
hard to keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So this question, I know no one's asked you yet, because it's a relatively new phenomenon. But to preface before we get onto the question, you've mentioned before, to which I agree to, that the women back in the days, more with the Christian values and Judeo-Christian values, that they've realized men act a certain way. Therefore, we should take preemptive measures so that men don't act that way because we know how they act. Whereas the new third wave feminist movement sees men and says, well, if men act that way, therefore women can act that way as well. So what this is leading to is the new phenomenon is the slut walk movement. I don't know if you've known about that.
Yeah.
With Amber Rose.
Or free the nipple movement. Remember that? The free the nipple.
Oh my god.
Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of guys will go to that. Woo,
that
free
walk.
the nipple. Yeah. just to watch.
Oh
I just
my
don't
God.
see how that would be helping. If you guys know how that would help women, explain it to us, because I'm not sure how it would help women in any way. But
besides turn on a bunch of men.
A bunch of creeps.
Phenomenon is the slut walk movement. I don't know if you've known about that.
Yeah.
With Amber Rose. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, what do you think are the ramifications of women saying, well, if men can go out and dress however they want and women can do the exact same thing, do you think that leads to a loosening of the fabric of society,
Of course
where
I do. I mean,
shame is a necessary determinant in society?
Yeah, I mean,
and that it leads to like sexual assault and an increase in things?
Okay, so I think that, first of all, if somebody commits a sexual assault, the only person to blame is the person who commits the sexual assault, right? That right off the bat. Right? Victims are not to blame for their own sexual assault. I also think that...
Good thing you said that, because a lot of people will actually accuse him of saying, oh, you know, you're blaming the victim for you know, for the crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he says, I like how he says just plain sexual assault, so that way, excuse me, you know it's both men and women.
Yeah, not just like, you know.
It's not just like
men
the
who
men that are assaulting people.
Exactly.
That blame for their own sexual assault. I also think that if you put yourself in a risky situation, then you've put yourself in a risky situation, right? We do this every day, right? Every day we make decisions about what sort of situations to put ourselves in. If I walk through a high crime neighborhood waving $100 bills above my head and then I am robbed, then it is the fault of the person who robs me. It is not my fault, but I also made a bad decision to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so two things can be true at once. And it is not blaming the victim to say that it's a bad decision to walk through a high crime neighborhood at night waving your wallet over your head.
Yeah.
Right? It is also not a good idea to go to parties where drinking and drugs are commonplace with a bunch of guys who are pigs.
Yes.
Right? That's just not a good idea. Now, does that relieve responsibility from the guys? 100% not. If a guy rapes you or sexually assaults you, he should be castrated or killed.
Yeah.
I'm very strict on this.
Absolutely.
But
and one more question.
one of the things that I hate so much about this conversation is that people assume two things can't be true at once. That if I think that rape is bad, and I also think that you shouldn't make decisions that heighten your own risk factor, that I'm somehow blaming the person who heightened the risk factor for the bad thing that happened to them. No, two things can always be true at once, and normally they are.
I just think the slut walk's increasing the sexual liberation.
You know,
of society.
as far as slut walk, again, I don't know why anybody would be prideful about their own promiscuity, man or woman.
Yeah.
It's confusing to me. As somebody who is a virgin until marriage, and very proudly so, and believe that that has made my relationship with my wife better and stronger and holier, I am perfectly consistent on this. I hold women to a particular standard, I hold men to a particular standard. That standard is being classy.
Yeah.
I know that word has kind of lost some of its meaning these days, but being classy.
Not possibly use this language. Okay, I remember one thing about something I was talking about with somebody. I don't know if this was going on online too. I think it was, like, teach men not to rape, right? I just think that was going on online. Like, you know, like whenever you tell women, you know, tell people in general, don't take unnecessary risks. Like, for example, like you just give, like, you go to a party with people who are doing drugs, with people who are not, you know, ethically sound. You go in there and then you get drunk, right? And then you get raped. Of course, it's not your fault, right? But I think when people give women advice like, don't put yourself in a situation where you are more likely to be assaulted. When people say that, some people come back with, teach men not to rape. And it's like, majority of men don't rape. But the ones that do rape, they know it's wrong. They just do it anyways. You know what I mean? So you cannot teach them not to, like, it's like teach murderers not to murder. They know it's wrong, unless they're sociopaths. They don't feel emotion. Most of them know it's wrong. They just do it anyways. So I feel like that doesn't really help the conversation by saying teach men not to rape.
I think it goes, another thing that goes both ways. I think you should, as parents, you should teach your men, your children that are their boys, to be respectful of women, but also teach your girls about putting yourself in scenarios that could be harmful for you. Exactly. Like Ben said, you're not gonna go to a high-risk neighborhood waving your wallet over your head. I'm not gonna teach my daughter that it's okay to wear booty shorts and roam the streets at night. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna teach my son. I'm not gonna teach my son that it's okay to abuse women whenever he feels like it. You know, I'm gonna teach him to be respectful. I'm gonna teach her to be on her guard.
And I think the whole teach me not to rape thing is that if you are a ethically sound person, if you are a good person, that's inherently known that raping is wrong. You know what I mean?
See,
so it's like,
I don't like the wording. I think that you should teach men to be respectful, because that's your job as a parent, is to teach your children to be respectful. So teach your boys to be respectful to women. You know,
and with that comes,
it's always said, like when you're dating somebody, like my mom always told me, when you're dating somebody, see how they react, how they treat their mother. If they're treating their mother right, you know they're a decent man. And then, you know, it's true. Like, the mom instills in you how to have respect for women, and especially so in men that have sisters as siblings, you know, because the mom teaches them that they have to be respectful and protect their family, which is their sisters and their mother. So when you see a man acting a certain way towards the women in his family, it gives you a little bit of a bird's eye view of how he's going to act towards you. And it's the same thing with men, you know what I mean? See, with women, you know, like, if a woman is walking around showing off all her goods, a guy's going to look at you and be like, okay, I'll definitely bang her, but is she wife material? No. Is she somebody I see myself dating for a few years? No. She's like a one-night stand, yeah, probably. So, like, it's basically the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't like the wording of teach men not to rape. I would say teach men how to be respectful towards women as parents.
And that's inherently in respect to not do that kind of thing, you know what I mean?
But I also agree that I also think that it should go both ways. I don't like the fact that we always lean towards one gender, like it's all the men's fault or it's all the women's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's both of us.
That's good to know. You know Minneapolis? Minneapolis?
He looks familiar.
Yeah, he was, back in the day, he was really popular with this kind of talks, but I don't know what happened to him. If anybody can, know what happened to him. But he's a funny guy. He just says, you're gonna see.
You know, give me a break. If I want to say that feminists are fat and ugly, which, by the way, most of them are, then I will. You know, if I want at the same time to talk about
yourself, that safety net, all it can do is give you the bottom. You have to push it through yourself. And I think that that's what makes me say I'm really not a feminist, I'm an individualist. I think that individuals each have within themselves the capacity to be the hero of their own story. It doesn't always have to be a star of a television program to be the hero of your own story. You want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief, whatever you want to be, you can be the best at it, be the most recognized in that profession or vocation. That makes you the hero of your story.
That's right. You can be a burger flipper and be the best darn burger flipper they've ever seen.
Be a great family person, be a great parent, be a great child, be a great citizen, be a great volunteer. That can make you a hero. That doesn't take a village. That takes an individual spirit.
In light of everything that's going on at the moment, we all believe rape and sexual assault are heinous crimes. We all want rapists behind bars. But I feel that in this climate, logic, evidence, and data are kind of being lost in translation. And also there's a very pervasive you're with us or against us mentality that's really doing a lot more harm than good. So my question to you is, how can we best stand up for the importance of due process and the presumption of innocence while also doing what we can to support survivors?
Okay, so I think that there's...
I'll point out that she talks fast like Ben Shapiro.
I'm sure he can keep up though, because he's like, all right, my turn person. Spit out
a third question that I want to address that you didn't even ask. So I'll address the first two, and then there's a third one that I think is implicit in the first two. So when it comes to standing up for due process, the answer is that we actually have to stand up for it, even in cases where it makes us uncomfortable, or even where we believe that the person may be responsible for something bad, because once you lose due process for one, you lose due process for everybody, obviously. When it comes to standing up for sexual assault survivors, I think the idea that we ought to take everybody's first account with the respect it deserves means not dismissing, not downplaying, but it also means asking the proper questions in order to get at the truth. That doesn't mean intimidating people. It doesn't mean calling people liars without evidence that they're lying. It doesn't mean mocking them, obviously, God forbid. It doesn't mean doing any of those things. I've throughout the Christine Blasey Ford thing, I keep saying over and over and over, I'm not calling her a liar. I'm not mocking her. I don't know if she's lying. I don't know if she's telling the truth. I don't know if she's misremembering. I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is that due process requires such and such to happen. Now, the real answer in the end to a lot of what's happening, and here's the really unpopular part with the left. The left destroyed traditional mores with regard to relations between the sexes. Destroyed them wholesale. So the original idea was that men were supposed to act with honor and chivalry in protecting women, and women were supposed to...
I joined the Air Force and found hope. Helped rescue my dad from drug abuse and home.
Look for example, relationships just as men were. Sexual activity was supposed to be confined, this was at least the ideal, was supposed to be confined to committed relationships, particularly marriage. Not everybody lived up to that, but a huge number of people did. In fact, once people got pregnant, people basically got married. There's studies from the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s shows an awful lot of 7-month marriage babies, right? People who are sleeping together, getting pregnant, and then the couple gets married. When you don't teach men to protect women, you get men who will victimize women. And when you don't teach women that they ought to cherish men who are responsible and good, all you end up doing is incentivizing bad male behavior. The feminist movement was not wrong when they said men are acting like pigs. They were wrong when they said women also ought to act like pigs, and this is a solution to our problem. Because because now what's happened is they got rid of all the traditional mores about how sex ought to be connected with love and ought to be connected with relationships. They got rid of all of that. It was just a bodily function now. Except when it comes to actual sexual assault, we treat that differently than any other bodily function, obviously. But that's the problem, right? So they create the standard where sex is basically a throwaway item, sort of like eating. And then we treat sex very differently when it comes to what we all know it is, which is a deeply important and intimate part of a person's life. And then we attempt to backdoor standards of consent that, frankly, don't make any sense in a real-life context. So you get college campuses in California saying that what you need is a yes means yes standard, where you have like a legal checklist, I guess, where every time you do anything in the bedroom, you're supposed to ask, am I allowed to touch your hand? Am I allowed to touch your shoulder? Am I allowed to touch your hair? Which has never, ever resulted in actual fulfillment of a sexual encounter, right? I mean, it's sort of like, it's like Zeno's paradox. If you have a yes means yes standard, the closer you get, the further away you are. And and again, sex is, this is where women really gave up on marriage a lot too soon. Okay, marriage was the best thing ever for women. It is an amazing thing for men too, because it civilizes them, it cultures them, it teaches them to be protectors of their family and to take care of people and to think beyond themselves and to think beyond their generation. Women gave up in marriage a way to teach men to do those things. And also, women gave up the idea that a commitment was going to come along with this intimacy. And let's be real about this. I mean, every scientific study ever done has shown that women actually do have better sex in the context of committed relationships. All of the crap that you see in Cosmo magazine about sleeping with 100 guys and being sexually happy is just garbage. It is just sheer unadulterated garbage. So, no, long answer to a short question, but reinculcation of traditional roles of male and female with the same feminist respect that we ought to have for women at all steps of the process is the answer.
I don't really fit into any box, so I represent sort of a threat to them because I'm persuasive and charismatic and have a huge fan base. They just really don't know how to deal with me.
Very modest as well, darling.
Also very humble, very humble.
Because, Milo, I'm a feminist, and I'm proud to be a feminist, and a lot of what you say...
That's okay. I'm sure they'll cure you soon.
No.
There's chemotherapy for that.
No. What, I suppose...
So, Bill Shapiro made a point about believing... Like, if a woman says she got sexually assaulted, right? It's really hard. Because if someone's been sexually assaulted, right, you have to be empathetic. You have to be, try to understand, try to, comfort her, right? But also, we cannot forget about the process, right? Because I feel like when people say, where's the proof that you've been assaulted or whatever, people go to the extreme like, oh, believe all women, right?
I was about to say, like Bill Burr.
Exactly.
Believe women.
But also, if a woman, says she got raped, you shouldn't be like, oh, where's the evidence? You know what I mean? And just dismiss it as a lie. I think it's a balance. Yeah. If a woman comes to you and says she's been raped, you're not supposed to say, oh, I don't believe you, where's the evidence? I think girls think that's what we mean by when people say, we need to have due process. We need to have proof that you actually have been raped. I say to like, no believe or not believe. You know what I mean? Don't believe or don't believe her. Be empathetic. Assume she's telling the truth, right? But don't automatically go arresting somebody just because of an accusation.
But that's why it's so important for people that get raped to go through the process of the going to the hospital, of getting the rape kit, of all that stuff. Even though, yes, you're ashamed, you're embarrassed, you feel disgusting. Like, these are the emotions that you're going through after the fact of being raped. It's understandable. But it's so important that you take those steps because of the fact of due process. It's not saying that we don't believe you when you say the words that you were raped. It's not saying that we don't think that it's not a sensitive subject and it's not something that should be addressed immediately. But if you don't go through that process, it's very hard to address it in the legal stance in the courts and make this person pay and suffer the way this person should pay and suffer for doing what they did to you.
And actually, it's more likely that the person will get caught and you actually have proof that it happened. It's more likely the person will actually be punished for what they did. I think it's very important because nowadays we have, through science, we have like a way of telling if somebody actually did this. But in the past, there wasn't. So in the past, it was worse because you make an accusation. There's less ways to prove that it actually happened. But nowadays, we actually have ways to prove that it actually happened. I think the best thing you can do is to go through the process.
Yep.
I know people are gonna make a kind of argument that it doesn't always work. That like the law going the right way doesn't always work. But going the way of believing all women is actually a worse idea for humanity, for society, because women, not all women are like angels. All women, we're not perfect angels that always tell the truth.
I don't want to say
women lie.
I don't want
people
to
lie.
say women. I want to say people because men get raped too. But I agree. I don't think you should just believe people that say that they're raped. And I also don't think that you should just
assume that they're lying.
Assume that they're lying and degrade them for speaking up against the fact that they were raped. But it's really up to that person. If you really want justice and you want this person to suffer the way that they should, then you need to be able to go through the legal process. Even if you feel like it's not going to work out. I get it. Sometimes the law is sticky and it's disgusting and certain people get away with shit that they shouldn't get away with. But it's better to go through that process and have that chance to get the justice that you deserve than not go through it. And then when you're able to finally get the justice, you can't because of the fact that you have no proof lining up with your words.
And also, I think because there's no repercussions for lying about sexual assault, I feel like the women that are actually the women with low integrity that will actually lie about that stuff, it empowers them to lie about it because they know there's no repercussions for lying. And I think that's why now it's so important to actually have proof, because the women who actually lie, if you don't require proof that they actually been sexually assaulted, just gonna accuse men of that because they know that they're automatically gonna believe them. You know what I mean? I think it hurts women in a way because more men are gonna lie, and that way people are not gonna believe when it actually happens. You know what I'm saying?
And I also want to touch on the fact that he brought up how there was chivalry, it's called, back in the day.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that we now squash that, the increase of sexual assault and sex being meaningless and just a thing to throw around has risen because of the fact that we squashed basically the importance of it.
Some people will say it's good, some people will say it's bad.
Like, I feel like, especially for women, that's all we had. You know what I mean? Back in the day, like the guys would chase us and want to marry us and want to do this and that so they can get a taste of the cookie, pretty much. But now it's like that saying, like, why have the milk when I can have the cow for free?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that that's all that, you know, women had back in the day, but it was a big aspect of, you know, a man going through the right, you know, procedures to actually get a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if you just, you know,
now it's too easy for them. So like they don't
commit.
They don't need to commit because of the fact that why would they commit? Because then they're gonna be stuck with one pussy for the rest of their lives when they have so many options that they can flourish through. And like if you really think about it, you take yourself out of the equation and put yourself in a man's shoes. Like you can't blame them. You know what I mean? Because like for women it's different. Like we want intentionally, no matter how much you want to say you're a strong, independent woman, you want to be married. You want to have that family.
Most women.
Like, majority of women do, deep down. Whether they say it out loud or not, they want that family connection. Men, it's more like, sex is more important to men than it is for women, where family is more important to women than it is for men.
Sex is more primal for men.
Mm-hmm.
They put more, you know, of a, not importance, but more of a, like, it's more primal. Like, there's like more of a...
Want?
I guess more of a want, need, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But something else that, he said that is very important is nowadays that women feel like they need to become men. You know what I mean? It's like back in the day, we have men, we have women, and we are different, and we, and you know, and we had certain things that are special about us. We were different, but we were, you know,
we complement each other.
Exactly, but now I think it's a push for women to become men. I feel like that's kind of blurring the lines of things, and it's like making things more difficult.
Because
you know?
there's a push for men to become women, pretty much, to be more sensitive. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying that women shouldn't try to be more dependent and rely on themselves and not have to need a man for everything. And I'm not saying men shouldn't let down their guard every once in a while and show their sensitive side. Like, these things are important for both genders. But I feel like the line has been way blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there used to be a line. Like, you dip down a little bit for men to get a little bit more sensitive. You dip up a little bit for women to get a little bit more of that edge when you needed it. But the line was always there as a safety net to lever you back down to where you essentially belong. Now, you can't even see the line. There's too many women trying to be so strong, so independent, so working, modern day feminists, I don't need no man for anything, that the men either have to resort to being the women in a relationship or don't even bother settling down because they're just jumping from women to women. And then you wonder why can't I find a good man nowadays and blah, blah, blah.
To be a well-rounded person, you have to have masculine and feminine traits, right? But I think the problem is when women try to go overboard, like with the example of like, I don't need no man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, you should be independent, but notice that being in a, you know, in a man in a two-parent relationship is actually better for your kids than being a single parent. That's one example of how
it's also better for you.
It's going the other way.
Being in a relationship is good for your mental health.
Yeah, it's good for both you and the child.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's the example I gave. Like, you know, how they don't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
They go automatically with, I want to be independent, I want to be like a man, and it's like you don't really see the benefits of what you're losing with that. But yeah, I think we said enough about this, right?
Yeah, we could go on and on, but then we'd be here for hours, so.
Tell us what you think about this video.
Yes, in the comments below.
Like.
Comment.
Okay.
Bye-bye.